everybody. Welcome to today's Shot Podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm Iron Dutch Murdoch.
And on this podcast, what we're going to be talking about is Michael Keaton. Well, one of the things we'll be talking about is Michael Keaton coming back to play Batman, possibly. Or it's going to be...
I think he has signed to play Batman in the Flash movie.
Right.
My understanding is, some speculation is that, and I haven't read anything recent, like as of today, but in talking with
Big Bob.
Talking with Big Bob, it may be that Michael Keaton is going to be playing Thomas Wayne.
Right.
So, now, I'll say this. I have and would love to see Michael Keaton reprise his role as Batman from his 1989 Batman, and they do a Dark Knight Return movie. And I would even bring Tim Burton back in and have him direct it. That would be absolutely...
Who was the writer of that? That was, he did The Watchmen, right? Or...
No,
But I would, if that guy's still alive, didn't he do, he did like that one movie with Robert Rodriguez, right? Sin City?
You talking about David Goyer?
No.
Let me see here. Let me see if I can pull this up here real quick.
I mean, I'm glad to see Michael Keaton reprising his role. He's my favorite Batman of all, from Adam West, or even if you went back to the 40s.
Nobody goes back to the 40s, because anytime you look on the internet, with kind of like the genesis of where Batman started off, and like people, like when you talk about who's your favorite Batman, it stops at Adam West.
Starts.
Well, what I'm saying, as far as going backwards,
yeah.
When you go backwards, nobody goes past the 1966.
And I can't remember what that guy's name was.
Nobody
but
does, because that was a god awful look. I mean, that was a very.
Well, he
cheesy...
looked like the comic book for what it was worth. I mean, long face and all. So, but be it here or there, I did like Michael Keaton over all the other ones. Even I like Christian Bale. I think I thought Ben Affleck was a good Batman, but you know, he's been playing only one time. But since he'll come back to...
So Sam Hamm was the writer, or did the story, for the 1989 film of Batman.
Okay.
But I don't think I would worry about bringing him back.
No.
Talking about the producer?
No, the actual guy who did the comic book, Frank Miller.
Yeah.
Bring Frank Miller in. That's who I meant. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Because
said who wrote when you.
I was meaning. No, I didn't care about Sam Hamm.
I was going to say, I don't know why that you'd want to bring that cat in, but no, I get what you're saying now. Now Frank Miller may even want to direct it.
But I would have him and Tim Burton work together, like you had with Robert Rodriguez. And,
yes. Okay, I'm with you now. Yeah. No, that would be good, because Frank Miller had a very good vision when he did The Dark Knight Returns, because I remember watching at the end of Unbreakable, okay? There's a little documentary that they did. I can't remember. I think it's like 30, 45 minutes long. But it talks to a variety of different comic book creators, and, it's very, very good. I mean, it's an excellent little film to watch. But they talk to Frank Miller in there, and they talk about when he got to do his historic run with The Dark Knight Returns, and he says he remembers when DC pretty much told him and said, okay, write your story, do what you want to do. And he said that, one of the things he did was, and the analogy he uses, he said, I looked out the window into the universe there, and he said, and at the current time in that landscape, he said, I didn't really see a need for a Batman the way DC was at that particular moment, is what he's saying. So in his world, when he created the Dark Knight world, he wanted there to be somebody that's taken the up the mantle of Batman. Things have to be really bad. There has to be a need for that kind of hero, and so that's why with the Dark Knight, he took it in that direction, and he made it there was a need for Bruce Wayne and Batman to return at that point, and so that would be really exciting.
Right. I thought that's what I would probably do.
Now, one of the things I think would be, I mean, and not that any of this would I say would keep from the movie from happening. But you would have to address are they going to introduce the Robin? Because, there is that one Robin there in The Dark Knight Returns. It was that redheaded female. Was it Carrie?
I can't remember, but I do remember.
But anyways, but would they introduce that character?
I would.
Would they ignore it and do it like they would take elements from The Dark Knight Returns and kind of do their own story with it? I don't know. But be it here or there, I would love to see that. I would love to see it.
I would let Frank Miller help with the script. And like what I would do with Superman is I would probably bring in Brandon Roth. And I would let him be the Superman.
For that movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I thought
the closest thing to Christopher Reeve you're going to get, because Brandon Roth really channeled Christopher Reeve well, and take that Superman with that Batman. And you got
he was on CW. I know the
Infinity Crisis. Right. He played Superman again.
Yeah,
which was exciting, and that was really good.
So people still see him as a Superman.
Absolutely.
So it would not be a bad thing.
People did not dislike him as Superman. What people didn't like about that movie was the fact that Superman never threw a punch in that movie.
It was boring.
It was boring. It was talk about dropping the ball.
Right.
There were moments that I liked about it, but by and large, it was a very forgettable movie.
Oh, absolutely.
It really was.
Kevin Spacey probably played a good. Well, he played a fine Lex Luthor.
He did. He played a good Lex. I mean, he's a very talented actor. He was a good Lex Luthor. It was a well cast movie. It was. Right. It had some missteps.
It had a lot of the missteps it had. I guess they were big missteps. So. But I guess we'll move on since with that, we've now got Zack Snyder released the little clip with Wonder Woman saying Darkseid. Like you saw the drawing on the wall, and then it actually showed, I guess it goes in onto the world wherever Darkseid is. And
Apocalypse.
Yeah. And, now you're saying that you heard that Ryan Reynolds there's possibility.
There's talk.
They're trying to get him to come back.
He's in talks to do a cameo in Zack Snyder's cut of the Justice League as Green Lantern.
As we were talking earlier, I don't see it as a cut. It's him just finishing the movie he was making. But now it feels like he's just shoehorning in more stuff. I don't understand why they didn't
have a Green Lantern in Justice League. I don't know, and I'll be honest with you, I'll tell you who I would have put in it. I'd have put Jon Stewart. I'd have put the Black Green Lantern because because he, to me, is the Justice League Green Lantern. I know Hal Jordan's been a part of it, but when I think Justice League, I think Jon Stewart Green Lantern. And he's been such a big part of that group. And there, and the one thing I've really enjoyed about the Green Lantern comic book as a whole, just since I've been reading it since we were kids, they do a very good job of fleshing out their characters. You could do a series of Green Lantern movies, and I mean, you've got Guy Gardner, you've got Jon Stewart, you've got Hal Jordan. Then my God, it spins off from there. I mean, now they've got all the different. The Blackest Night storyline that they did was amazing. I mean, just absolutely the best, because that was where all the rings, the dead were coming back, and it was really good. And but I would have absolutely had Jon Stewart's Green Lantern be in it, because they referenced the Green Lanterns early in the movie, and you see them fighting alongside with the Amazons. Mm-hmm. They're fighting Steppenwolf there. So you're telling me then that Green Lanterns just abandoned Earth, that they're no longer a protector there? I mean, give me a break, man. Come on.
Who knows where it was going? But I just really would like to know if Zack Snyder's, if he's just now adding to the script. Because that's what I'm feeling like, is it's just like we're adding more and more and more and more to it.
Is that the case, or is it a situation where this was the plan all along, and due to the tragedy him and his wife suffered, because they brought Josh Whedon in to finish the movie. And so, I mean, in fairness, not being an insider to the group, what was it? It'd be like painting a room. I've painted 3 of the 4 walls. and then I bring you in and you go back through and finish it, but you don't paint it the way I was going to paint it.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So maybe, like I said, maybe the intent all along was for this stuff to be there, and just didn't get
But the reason for this, I think, more than anything, is just because of HBO Max. They're wanting to get people to subscribe to it, and they know a lot of people are going to subscribe to it just to watch it. Because
on HBO Max, for what it's worth, is really good.
Can you imagine
got a lot of great content?
How many people are going to be coming out when their movie was expected to be really good, and then they're going to be saying, well, had my cut been released, it would have been different. That's all you're going to hear, and that's what the Suicide Squad director, had my cut been released, it would have been blank.
I think on some level, though, too, I think that, especially because, let's be honest here, DC works for or is owned by an idiot or operation here. Warner Brothers has
Time Warner, right?
Time Warner. They've, I think AT&T now maybe owns them.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But time and again, they have proven that they want the Marvel success, but they can't get out of their way to do it. They just can't, because here they've got all this successful TV property. They've already got a well-established Flash on TV, but they recast the guy for the movie. We need a movie Flash. And man, if this was Marvel, the guy playing it on TV would have been the guy in Justice League.
Right.
That would have been the end of it. You know what I'm saying? Everything that they put out there is going to tie together. Marvel does that, and that's why Marvel's kicking the crap out of them.
I wonder if DC's at a spot now too. If they talk about we're now going into phase 4 of the Marvel films, and the public is tired of superhero films.
Yes.
Now they're going to try to get on board.
Yeah, now they're going to try to right the ship when the bubbles pop.
Yeah, now people are tired of it, and they need to give them a minute to breathe. They're now wanting to come out with their own thing. But even if this movie's great, I would like to know, what's the plan? Because Zack Snyder had, I believe it was going to be Superman, then Superman versus Batman, Justice League 1, 2, and 3. That's what Zack Snyder's going to do. So if this movie's a big hit, are they going to do Justice League? With all the characters again?
I don't think you see a Justice League sequel. I think that if you see another Justice League movie at some point, it's a reboot.
Yeah, that's what it'll be.
I don't believe you see a sequel to this movie. It was poorly done. Okay, it was very dark. I hated what they did with Batman.
It was rushed.
It was rushed. Yeah, the Batman in this movie was awful. Absolutely awful. And I liked Ben Affleck's Batman when it was Batman versus Superman. I liked him fucking, slamming them guys on the floor and the way he beat them down. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a hardcore Batman right there. And that's fine. That's the way Zack Snyder does it. Here's a guy, man, that his biggest movie was The 300. Okay? And he's, just like M. Night Shyamalan, trying to recapture that glory. And everything he does is ultra-violent. Violent. I mean, not violent, but ultra-violent. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed his Man of Steel movie that he did. I thought he put a lot of heart in it, with the way with Kevin Costner, and I know people have their criticism, but I like the fact that those Kryptonians found Superman, and then they fought him. And I liked how, the Earthlings, that's how the people of Earth started to trust Superman, because he fought right alongside with them. What was nice is that transition, that story arc, took us into Batman versus Superman, because Batman, there was a direct fallout. There was casualties as a result to Superman's big fight with General Zod and that group.
Right.
There was fallout to that, and then there was people wanting to hold Superman accountable for that. So there was a good job with the storytelling. The problem though is, and I think DC's always done this better than Marvel. I think DC's more like there was some heavy stuff in the superhero genre there with the storytelling for Batman and Superman and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because you had the one guy that got paralyzed, and then he was wanting to sue Superman, and the government was stepping in to try to censor him and stuff like that. When Marvel went after Civil War, they lightly touched on it, but they didn't go as deep with Civil War as they did in the comic book. What set it off in the comic book, man, was a school blew up due to them jackwagons fighting each other. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Killed a bunch of kids. Obviously, they're not going to put that out there because they're trying to sell toys and they're trying to keep it a little. Yeah, you got to have a reason to draw people out, but it didn't go as heavy. But Zack Snyder's version of what was going on, that was heavy. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot more serious. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. But it's almost like watching a movie, because people always make fun of like all the buildings that would be getting destroyed, and they're now trying to tell the story of all the destruction that these heroes are causing throughout the earth, wherever they go and fight.
Right.
I don't know, but DC's such a cluster as is.
Well, and I'm gonna be honest with you. We've talked, I think, maybe in some previous podcasts about the rumor mill being that Marvel is maybe acquiring DC.
Right.
And I went directly, to the comic shop owners, and I asked people that are actively in the business as far as comic books are concerned, as far as maybe not, but these are people that are going to definitely know because they're ordering comic books, they're getting the vibe, this is their bailiwick, this is what they do, and at this particular moment, it's still strictly just rumor. That being said, though, one of the things that the AT&T is looking at is profitability. This has shades of WCW written all over it. Mm-hmm. Because comic books as an industry is not what it used to be back in the 80s. I can remember back in the 80s, you could think of at least 3 or 4 comic book shops just here in the valley. Now, you've got one comic book shop. I don't even know if 7-Eleven or some of these convenience stores,
no.
They don't even sell. Where do you get comic books?
You would have to go on there. You would have to go to the actual realtor or the specialty stores for comic books.
Right. And I can only think of one comic book store here in the area.
Yeah. Now, that's one thing that, I know we were talking about a few weeks ago when I was over there and I was looking at one of the comic books that you had, and I said, back in the day, they would have toy video game ads in there, toy ads, not just ads about their upcoming issues for other comic characters. It was like it was marketed out. There was a lot of
marketing, but
like the Charleston Chew candy bar was on the back, and get 25-cent coupon on there. I am shocked, like just little stuff like that. What comics need to do is get back into the retailers, even if it's a cheaper paper. Now, I don't even know if it, like we have a bulletin.
I was going to say, I don't know that would even help them.
The reason being,
comic books are expensive now.
They are, but, and I'll tell you this, American Legion, when we do our bulletin, we had, because of the cost, we're like, hey, what can we do to reduce the cost? And they're saying, we said, can we go with a cheaper paper? And she was like, really, you're not going to save that much more. So I don't even know if you could,
the other thing
if you could produce something cheap to get back over into 7 and like get some type of deal with 7-Eleven or Sheets to get on the magazine racks. But I don't even know if that would help. But in my head, because when we would walk in as kids, we'd flip through them comic books before we were going to our local comic shop. I remember that before going there.
Right. I don't know, and you got the digital media now,
right?
Which that I don't think reading a comic book on an app or on an iPad or a Kindle or something like that is the same. It's just not. But they've priced themselves so expensive. Comic books are $4 and $5, and that's just for a regular issue now. Okay, so how many titles do you really think I'm going to collect if I'm paying $4 and $5? And let me tell you something, man. If you got a kid out here, what are they going to, if they're getting an allowance, I guarantee you, man, $4 or $5, man, you're pretty much pigeonholed.
If they get a $20 allowance every 2 weeks, they're not going to want to throw $5 because we would go out there and buy 4 or 5 comics for
If I had $10 in my pocket, I could get 6, 7, 8 comics.
Yeah,
depending on what the price was. Now, granted, I understand costs change and stuff like that, but when you're paying $5 for one comic book, that's a lot.
Right. And now with the way that the system is, and I know the way that we've got different writers, and hopefully we can do a podcast where we'll get Sean, who reads more into like the social justice warriors and all the woke community getting into it. That's affecting the way that people, because it's turning people off from buying the comic books.
Absolutely.
And so sometimes it's like it's strange, that these companies will try to reach out to markets that instead of
aren't supporting their business anyway.
It didn't support it at the beginning, and it's not supporting it now. So really, if you just continue to better stories and keep your characters good, people will come out.
Stay true to your base.
Right.
Right, absolutely.
If you want to reach out to the other different segments and stuff, I get it. Like more female characters, for instance, I understand. But hey, just make it a good story. Don't
right.
What I don't see it don't make sense when they try to change the story just to make someone really, really powerful, just so we can have that really, really powerful female character as an example.
So, changing gears here. Big news that was announced. Cobra Kai Season 3 is going to Netflix, not YouTube. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I haven't seen Season 1 or 2. You said they were really good. I'm really excited since I got Netflix. I like the Karate Kid movies. I liked 1, 2, and 3. 4 was mediocre. It wasn't even mediocre. But, if they're smart, they should reach out to Hilary Swank to see.
It's hard to say what they'll do because
they brought everybody else back. So
because what they're doing. Well, not yet. They haven't brought everybody back yet.
But they're really bringing back a lot of people. I should be saying the universe of Karate Kid.
Absolutely. The thing about it is nothing's out of play, and talk about I don't know how they would do it because obviously with the next Karate Kid, that was really just focused more on Mr. Miyagi and a new student. It really didn't have anything to do with Daniel. However, with Miyagi being dead and the Miyagi Dojo now being opened up by Daniel and all this other stuff, it could lend itself to that character because of what Miyagi meant to her somehow making an appearance in the Karate Kid universe. And now, buddy, wow. You've really brought it all full circle, man. You brought everybody into the mix. They do a very good job with the character development. They do a very good job with the storytelling. They've stayed true to the characters, and everything's in play. And that's what I love about it. It truly is what they've laid out with the movies. Is what the foundation that they work off of with moving these characters forward from there.
Right. I've always liked shows. My favorite shows are ones that have like this built-in universe. Mm-hmm. And Seinfeld. So, Seinfeld, Trailer Park Boys. You can go to, and I know
even
there's
The Office.
The Office. But I like it when you have the world and you have these big expanded universes and they'll talk about characters or that they're around, but you're not really focusing on them. And that's one thing I like about the Karate Kid, this universe that they've done. I mean, this is great.
Yeah, they, Allie, Elizabeth Shue's character, she's been referenced a whole lot in both seasons. And, the big rumor is that season 3's when she's finally going to make her appearance.
Now, has that kid who fought him in number 3 come back yet?
No.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you never know what these guys are doing.
You don't
they
know.
Might not even want to do it.
They continue to surprise.
But I tell you this, I would, like, let's say if they wanted to bring him back,
absolutely,
and he didn't want to come back, I would recast the character. I think I would recast it. Nothing drives me crazier. If we've got a story to tell, let's tell the story. obviously you don't want to just change him now into 5'4",
No.
400-pound guy.
I tell you what excites me and what the success of the Karate Kid with the Cobra Kai, with these guys having knocked a home run with this,
right?
And doing such a great job building these characters, because I mean they have fleshed these characters out, man, in ways that the movies weren't able to. You know what I'm saying? But what I've sit and look at is what other properties are out here that they're thinking. Are there properties being discussed about possibly trying to jump on and capture what the Karate Kid's done? You know what I'm saying?
There should be, because there probably is a lot of properties out there that could be used and played with, and you could have a good time with them, and you could even have serious issues, not just make it into like a lighthearted comedy, But there's probably a lot of stuff out there. I just think sometimes studios don't know what to do. And then sometimes that's the one good thing about streaming services is they give time to. Had they took this Karate Kid or the Cobra Kai and turned it into a movie, it probably wouldn't. I wonder how well it would have been received, because they were going to have to shoehorn everything. Where now they've got time to let it breathe and boil and simmer, and then when it's time and they take that lid off, now we've got the John Kreese walking in the door.
Right.
Or whatever. So in turn, you get the nice
and
build.
I'm telling you, man, because one of the things that I love about this show is in season 1 when Johnny is talking to one of his students, and Johnny's retelling his experience with Daniel LaRusso and why he doesn't like Daniel LaRusso, and he absolutely feels that he was the victim. That Daniel LaRusso was this outsider punk that came in, tried to steal his girl, then did all these other things. You know what I'm saying? Like from Johnny's perspective, LaRusso was the bad guy.
Was it like that video that they have where showing that Daniel LaRusso was the bad guy, and it showed that? Remember that YouTube video?
Yeah. No.
It's a little bit different, but
they do flashbacks to show the different things.
Right.
But listening to Johnny explain it to his student and why he feels like LaRusso's a jerk.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
No, you can say that.
And let me tell you, the dynamic between LaRusso and Johnny is phenomenal, because they're still butting heads, but they have moments together where it's like there's common ground there between them.
Right.
And it's just I can't say enough good things about it, man. It's just they've done a very good job, and and you get to see Johnny in a light that you didn't get to see him in the original Karate Kid movie. Okay. Yeah. The other thing I would also point out too is this: when you go back through and you watch the original Karate Kid, there's a point where I can't remember where they were, but LaRusso and Allie were out on a date somewhere, and Johnny and a car full of her friends pull up, and they invite him to go wherever it was. But if Johnny truly hated Daniel LaRusso that bad at that moment, he wouldn't have been cool with letting this dude jump in his car and take off. Now, of course, in the theme of the thing, Johnny's an asshole, and he's probably going to end up antagonizing Daniel in some way. But the point being is, if there was truly that much heat between them, he wouldn't have been cool with, hey, yeah, y'all come on, because he was the one driving, But yeah, it's been very good. I'm excited about season 3, obviously, and what they hold in season 3. The old boy that came along and helped John Kreese in the number 3, the black-haired guy,
Terry Silver.
Yeah. It's possible he shows up.
Oh, yeah.
Because, the story could absolutely go that route. It's also funny, too, because when LaRusso talks about his disdain for the Cobra Kai in this series, he talks about intimately knowing what their mindset is. He said, I know this because, I used to be a Cobra Kai. And he was. Daniel LaRusso wore Cobra Kai colors in number 3.
Right.
If you remember. So he, it's every little nuance from those movies that made them great.
Right.
These guys are firing on all cylinders, man. It's all coming back around again. You know what I'm saying? So I highly recommend. I'm very excited about it, and there's potential to go past season 3. You know, if there's more story to be told, and they've got something that they can build off of, I could absolutely see Netflix letting it go. Why not?
I would.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? So.
And if Netflix is picking them up, if they get a good rate, if they get good thing, they're going to get at least 2 or 3 more seasons out of it. I mean, look at Fuller House.
How many seasons did they do?
They did 5.
5? Okay, I was going to say 4 or 5.
Yeah, they've done 5, and they wrapped it up finally, you know.
But that's 5 seasons of a show that they brought back.
Right, so they're going to try to get the 5 seasons. I'm just surprised that they don't, unless it's the cost.
Well, all right, so
I would just keep doing.
Right now, I'm currently going back through on HBO Max, and I'm watching 6 Feet Under. That was a hit show for them on HBO. That did 5 seasons. Sopranos, probably one of HBO's, if not HBO's biggest show ever. You know, independently.
Well, Game of Thrones is their biggest.
Okay, all right, Game of Thrones.
But yeah, it's a giant show. Yes.
At that time, Sopranos was arguably probably their biggest show.
Oh yeah.
That did 6 seasons. Now, granted, season 6 is broken into an A and B segment, so I mean, you could say maybe technically 7 seasons. But be it here or there, most of these things, man, if you go 5 to 6 seasons,
right,
that's a successful.
Well, it used to be. I remember them talking that it used to be you would want to go 5 seasons because then you could get into the what's it called, the syndication.
Yes.
But obviously Netflix and so forth isn't on syndication.
Right.
Which really surprises me because if I could sell Fuller House onto Fox, you know, from 6 to 7, let them put it on there, because then if people want to watch the show, they can come over to buy it on Netflix. You buy Netflix and you can stream all the seasons. But I'm surprised Netflix has not reached out to made a deal with CBS or one of these little smaller promotions.
I get where you're going, but I also think too you got to be careful because you know you're talking about what's going to make me want to pay if I can watch.
Well,
I can watch it.
Well, you're not going to do every show that they do, but you're going to have a lot. You would have like Fuller House or, you know, something that might be, and then like hot stuff. It's just a way to make extra money because once it gets old, I mean, what do you think? People going to keep buying Netflix for Fuller House? It'll get lost in the shuffle. Honestly, that's what's going to happen. I mean, look at so much stuff gets put up on YouTube.
At some point, it'll age out to the point to where you're going to be better served. You know what I'm surprised isn't in syndication? I was just thinking about this the other day, and I know this has nothing to do with what we've been talking about. Three's Company. I'm surprised that's not in syndication somewhere. And maybe it is, and I just don't know it, but it's like, you know, I love Three's Company.
Well, I can tell you I've thought about that because, like, you know, the old, like, there's a new One Day at a Time on. But
that just got canceled.
It got canceled on Netflix and got picked up on for regular. It's actually getting picked up by some network station. I'm not certain which one.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's so they got put on hold because of the COVID. That's what happened there, and but I used to like the old One Day Times and like Alice. Different Strokes. I'm surprised that
and I'm not familiar with Antenna TV. I don't even know if that's a channel or if that's just a thing I follow on Instagram, but they always talk about. But I mean, I don't know if I don't know if they're like being played, because you remember like Nickelodeon used to have TV Land, and they would show old shows like that. But I would love to see some Alice come through. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, that has nothing to do with anything. But
no, I'm surprised. You know, and I know big companies don't want to do this, but CBS, well, it's like Hulu. Like, make it instead of. You get so many streaming services. I'm not going to buy Peacock and CBS All Access, and I'm surprised ABC hasn't released theirs yet, or Fox, and you know they're all going to come out with their own little streaming service, and then it starts having so many streaming services. Now we're going to wind up having them all combined into one streaming service.
Yeah, but you know what's nice about it though is it's it's a la carte. So in other words, like
Right.
say for CBS Access, if you wanted to get it so you could watch Picard, I've heard great things about that. I'm going to end up having to check that out. You can get it, pay for it for a month, cancel it.
That's like what I'm going to do with WWE Network
That's
with
it.
The Undertaker's Last
That's it.
Ride.
Yeah.
I just want to watch the documentary, and then I'm going to punch out.
Yeah.
There's nothing on that station that really makes me want to go, oh, let me check it out.
Now, because if I want to watch old wrestling matches, I can go on YouTube and watch that.
That's the only thing that I would like to see done, something brought up is something to fight YouTube. Because I use YouTube a lot.
Yeah.
Like how-to videos
Sure.
to shows like Different Strokes. I was just talking about them. Like I wanted to watch a full episode. You can go somewhere and watch them all.
Oh, yeah.
And I would like to see something come up because, YouTube's so bad about just their own politics and stuff that they start shadow banning and the algorithm. You don't know how. So in turn, you don't get seen. There's a whole bunch of stuff with different people, and I don't want to support them anymore, but there's nowhere else to turn to that you can support them because they change stuff up too. So then people making the content.
The reason. See, and one thing, let me say this too, because you bring up a good point when you talk about the politics and the promotions and stuff like that. All right. So take YouTube for example. Donald Trump comes in and says, "Hey, I want to buy X amount of ads, and I want them ran." Okay. Well, YouTube's no different than say CBS. If Donald Trump pays for X amount of airtime or ad space, CBS is going to play whatever it is he's legally bought from him.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just using this as an example.
Yeah.
Now, what that means is that, you could be sitting there watching Survivor on CBS, and then when it goes to commercial, there it is, Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? And he's running his commercial. Now, you don't have to like it, this, that, and the other, but you don't have people calling CBS. Well, you probably do. In this day and age, you probably do. But the point being is, CBS is that it's a business thing. And they're going to, if Donald Trump wants to pay them however much money to run an ad, they're going to sell it to him just like they would sell it to Joe Biden, just like they'd sell it to anybody else that's willing to pay for that space. And it is what it is. And I think that's kind of what YouTube and them should do. You know what I'm saying? All these people want to talk about, you got to take that stuff off of here. Listen, it's social media.
I don't mind that stuff. What I have issues with is when people that they have someone who sits in their office that they don't like what the individual talks about. They shadow ban them. So in turn, that don't come up on the suggested thing. People don't get to see it. I have to, where they're going to be. And then what they'll do is they'll shove stuff down that I don't really have, like what they want to make me see into the thing.
That's right.
I don't care if I don't like mainstream media. I think are garbage. We talked about it earlier, not online or anything, but a lot of times you got to go out around you got to go through independent journalists because the mainstream media is nothing but trash, and that's what YouTube's trying to become, and they're just trying to push the mainstream media viewpoint. I don't need to see that. I can turn that on CBS or
That's right.
whatever. So, but I would like to see someone come along and challenge them, not get bought out by them. But we'll see how that happens. But I think there's a lot of. I'll be interested in seeing how DC plays this whole. In the end of the day, I want to see how the comic book world winds up.
I could honestly see, because at the end of the day, man, Marvel went from a company that was bankrupt, making bad deals for movies, to now they're like the gold standard, and they're owned by Disney. Okay, right. I could easily see Marvel or Disney or acquiring the DC property.
I can see that happening too. Because people in the suits, just like at Paramount, they bought Bellator. They don't know nothing about Bellator. They threw it on the Zone. It's lost. The Zone might be going. Talk of it might be losing money, going out of business. And you want me to tell you where Bellator's going to wind up? UFC Fight Pass. UFC will just buy them.
Possibly.
Because that's where else they go. That's where I would go. Even if they don't buy them. I would say, hey, can we get on, make a deal?
Scott Coker's a good businessman.
Yeah.
Scott, I like Scott Coker. I will be honest. When I learned that Scott Coker was going to Bellator, I thought, oh man, this is it. This is the game changer right here. You know what I'm saying? He's going to do big things.
He's slow.
I have struggled to really enjoy Bellator.
Well, he's got a lot of stuff because one, when he did Strike Force, UFC wasn't putting on the programming like they did. You know, so in turn,
but Strikeforce had comparable feel though.
When
we watched Strikeforce, you felt like you were watching a true alternative to UFC.
But even
when I watch Bellator, I feel like you're watching the Bush League.
True, and they got some good talent.
They absolutely do.
But you're absolutely right. They do make you feel more of a Bush League vibe and stuff.
And I know that I know that makes it seem like I've got a poor opinion of them, but it is what it is.
Right.
They've got very good talent. They got guys that right now could go to UFC and be champions, but they don't have that feel. They don't have that it factor. At the end of the day, UFC is the king of the mountain.
Right.
Right now. So, you got anything else?
No, I have nothing else.
Well, I guess that's going to do it for us. I'm Iron Dutch Murdoch.
I'm Brian. So until next time, later. Thanks again for listening to Potato Shot Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Potato Shot PC. Our YouTube channel is Potato Shot PC. Remember, click that like and subscribe button. Also, you can listen to this podcast on Podbean, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all the other great places you listen to your podcast. So until next time, my friends, goodbye.